Well, welcome again to another podcast. It's the Process is Everything podcast. I'm Tracy Good. I'm sitting with my main man, Mr. Blake Cook. How you doing, buddy boy?
I'm blessed, buddy. It's good to be here.
Man, the weather's great outside. School's underway for a couple of weeks now. How is life treating you and the Cook household?
Since our last podcast, the Queen has passed.
Yes.
And by the Queen, I mean Loretta Lynn.
Bless her heart. That was the news from today as of the recording of this podcast. So it's probably old news to you as y'all are listening. But you know what ain't old news? Alex Willson.
Alex Willson ain't old news.
He's the reason that you guys tuned into this podcast. I'm going to be honest with you. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm just enjoying being here.
You are in the middle.
This microphone.
Hey, there's nothing like it, right?
That's right.
These are microphones, and we do sanitize between every
That's
show.
right. That's right. I feel good.
Well, good. So you did an Ironman. What the
Hot
heck?
off the press is Alex
I did.
Willson.
What?
It was a midlife crisis. We're on to the next one. So yeah, did it about 8 days ago. It's good to be on the other side of it. That's for sure.
Good gracious.
So, yeah.
So how's life different now? Are you eating differently? You got to eat less now, right?
Got to eat less. Yeah.
I'm not used to that at all.
Doing things for joy instead of fear. Rode my bike yesterday for the first time. It was nice to just do it and not try to be
A little
hitting
PTSD.
certain heart rates or times, or thinking if I don't do this, I'm gonna die on September 25th. So yeah, it was good.
How long is the training leading up to an Ironman? This is 140 some odd. What is Ironman?
So this one is it's 2.4 mile swim. This one was a 116 mile bike. They're usually 112.
116 miles.
116 miles, and then a marathon. So 26.2. So all in, this one's 144.
Good gracious.
So yeah, it was a lot. It took a little over 14 hours. So yeah, it was fun. It was so I started really training about 6 months ago, and you kind of step it up, and then June, July, August kind of really gets stepped up. So and then you kind of taper it back for 2 or 3 weeks, and then you see what happens.
Did you have like a goal going into this, like on time?
Yes, I had a couple. So goal one was just finish. Never done one.
That's a good goal.
So yes, and then my shot, I was shooting for 14 hours, and so I missed it by 4 minutes and 11 seconds. Had a flat tire on the bike, which took me out for like 15 minutes. It was raining like for 5 of the 7 hours on the bike, so it wasn't great condition. So I finished. Yeah, could have. There's a lot of things I'm like, if I'd done this, if I'd done that, and my wife's told me to stop thinking like that because that makes me want to do another one, and that's probably not ideal for my marriage coming right off the first one. So yeah, no, it was good. It was a cool experience. I'm glad to have done it, and probably don't need to do another one though.
So for Blake's mom, who is the only listener we have, tell me, what does the middle of the pack look like? Is it
Miss Wanda?
Okay, yeah. Fine people, great people. You said you finished it in 14 hours.
Yes.
And what is the guy who won it?
He did it in like 9. So,
what?
And none of the pros were at this one, I guess because the World Championship in Kona, Hawaii is like this weekend or next weekend. So those guys do it in like 7.5, which is just unbelievable. 9 is crazy. I was still biking and the guy's finishing, his marathon, which is just crazy. So, but yeah, they're otherworldly, and there are people that like do this like 4 or 5 times a year, which is wild. You hear them talking, they're like, oh, when we were in Wisconsin, it was like 54 degrees and raining the whole time. You're like, that was like 2 weeks ago, and you're doing it again.
Is that good? Is that good for your body to do that many times in a year?
I guess. I don't know, man. I won't be finding that out. Yeah, but it's a serious deal. So
did you throw up at all?
Not during the race, during training a couple times, once running, once I died on the bike in Braunwood, had to just like suffer in for 30 miles. So I was so paranoid about like that happening. I ate so much ridiculous stuff while training or while doing the actual race, like the Monday after. 1, I was exhausted, but 2, my stomach was just completely destroyed because you eat all those gels, and then like I ate probably like 8 Pop-Tarts and like 6 Nutri-Grain bars, all this stuff that's just like all carbs and no nutrition.
A lot of fettuccine Alfredo.
Yeah, that's right.
Like Michael Scott, I got you.
Exactly. Got a carbo load during the race.
So no Braunwood beef during the race.
No, not during the race. So yeah, it was interesting. I learned a lot. Some of it I can take with me, maybe, I don't know. So yeah, it was cool.
So what's next?
I don't know.
Do you have a next thing?
I don't know. Usually I start thinking about these things in like December, and they usually involve something physical. Certain things. There's a mountainous bike race in North Georgia. maybe speed, maybe go sub 5 on a mile. I feel like that's going to be harder.
Wow.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't think that's possible for me at this point. Maybe sub 6. Try to go sub 6. So we'll see.
I don't have this thing in my brain that challenges me to like push my limit. Like people want to jump out of an airplane or they want to do these things. I don't have this thing. Am I like a bad person because of this?
You're
or
probably a sane person. I don't know. I like to do these things sometimes, and then other times just want to hang out. So I don't know. Well, it could be nothing either. So it's running really fast is really painful. So that one probably won't be it.
So you boys call me when it's the hangout time. When y'all are running together or training for something, I think I'm out on that one. So you are you COO of the family company. I know that doesn't matter. I mean, right? You're running the place, but
well, basically, people like a title, So I came.
I don't care
COA,
about titles.
People always want to be like, "What's your role here?" I'm like, "Oh, okay.
I'm just doing everything.
Plunge the toilet if it needs it." You know what I mean? Like, do some everything.
Chief nut captain.
That's right, exactly. So I mean, I kind of run the day to day at this point. I have my hand in a little bit of everything. I specialize more in operations. Is kind of my background. Before that, in my previous life, I was more in sales and product management and equity compensation. But I really like operations and trying to gain efficiencies and squeeze fat out of processes, things like that. And so that's kind of what my focus is currently. And of course, always trying to increase your sales and marketing, blah blah blah. But we have people who are far better than I am. So I tend to focus on the actual day-to-day process of how we run our business.
Did you always want to come back to the family biz, or was there a specific time you were like, all right, I need to do this?
Yeah, I mean, when I left to go to school, I didn't really ever think I'd be back, honestly. And then, once we moved to Atlanta, had our first kid, you start doing the same things on the weekends. You're not at the club you're not like, oh, it's Friday night, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. It's like, you're like, well, it's Friday night and we're gonna go out to eat and we're gonna go to like Mexican or barbecue or pizza because of my, 2-year-old throws a fit. Those are the places where everybody else's 2-year-old, whatever, right? And so you start thinking, I'm like, well, I can do this anywhere. And just the opportunity, I'd been talking to my dad about coming back for a couple years, and it worked out. And we said, hey, let's give it a try. We didn't sell our house in Atlanta. We came down. We loved it. 7 years later, we're still here. So we're here. Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah, you can not go to the club in Albany too.
That's right.
Exactly. Exactly. We're doing just as much club going now in Albany as we were in Atlanta. So,
maybe a little more.
Exactly. Now it's exotic. You can go.
So you were talking about in my brain you have kind of HR accounting, right? And you have marketing, sales, and operations.
Yeah.
I think those are like the 4 big things in business. What's the most important? And I know it's different for every business, but let's just say we're talking to business people. How would you rank those things in your brain?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on which person in the business. Sales, sales always going to tell you sales is the most important.
Yeah.
Because without sales, you have no cash flow. But of course, to get the product out, you have to have whatever your business is producing widgets to get them out the door once the sales guy does, and then you need marketing. So, and HR keeps your employees happy, keeps people there, keeps you out of trouble, ideally. So, I mean, in my thought, it's sales and marketing are one, and ops is one. I tend to say, operations is key more during maybe leaner times, because if your sales fall off, you can squeeze the fat and maybe, that falls straight to your bottom line. Sales, when things are boom and bust, you go out, you figure it out and you're going to get it out the door. But if you're not running as efficiently as possible, it doesn't do any good to sell more if you're losing $1 on every single, bag of nuts you send out, right? So you got to have that kind of mindset as, okay, it's always great to sell more, but if I'm selling things at 10% loss, then that's not necessarily the best way to do it. Anybody can sell that way. So I'm an ops guy, so I'm going to say ops. But my salesperson would probably disagree. So.
Y'all have how many employees do you have during season?
During season, we'll get up to 150 or so.
Wow.
Full time, we'll keep about 80. We have a lot of seasonal, both in the shelling plant and then our shipping floor, of course, like a lot of Q4 businesses, UPS, Amazon, all these businesses that do a big holiday. We flex up there, but we keep about 75 to 80 full year.
So what are some of the things that you do to keep a grip on all of those moving parts? I mean, sales, operations,
dashboards, checkpoints.
Yeah. What are some of the things that keep you in check to go, all right, this business is under control?
Yeah. I mean, I look at our balance sheet and our P&L, I guess, pretty regularly, more not from a financial standpoint, but more just kind of like, we break everything down so detailed on our P&L. I just use the expense side as kind of tracking, like, okay, I bought this amount of packaging, I bought this amount versus last year, and I can kind of in my head know, okay, we're paying 10% more this year, so that's why we're higher or lower. I've got a few different kind of, like, I guess, key performance indexes that I track for myself personally. So, like, you know, what is our operating income? What amount of money am I spending on shipping to get the product to suppliers? How much am I buying for pecans? You know, if I'm buying pecans at a certain amount versus last year, is that because there's a bigger crop? Is that because there's a smaller crop? You know, different things like that. So I have a few different dashboards that I guess I keep in Excel. I've got a couple in different programs as well that I look at regularly. And then I try to give most of our managers at least one number that they're looking at. So, like, if it's our shelling plant, say, okay, we're shelling whatever, a Pawnee variety of pecans, we know we should be making X amount of halves. Like, so if we're making more than this, good job. If we're making less than this, we need to start asking questions. It's not your fault. It's maybe something's going on with our sheller. Maybe we got a blower too high and we're blowing good stuff out. So just kind of numbers to check and balance, say, okay, something's wrong here because we know historically we should be doing this number and we're not anywhere near it. So let's stop and figure out what the problem is before we keep wasting more product, things like that. So.
One of the things I've known about your company is that you guys your operations may cost a little more, but you are a premium product. There are some keys in your organization that you're doing that have set you apart.
Yeah, I mean, we try to position ourselves. I mean, our tagline is only the best. That's what it's been for, I don't know, we started in 1948 and it's been around about that long. So, you know, we say we have two different differentiators that, you know, subtract us from or differentiate us from what you can, like, buy in the store, right? I mean, you can buy pecans, you can buy mixed nuts, you can buy all this stuff in the store. We have a superior product. We pay more. So when I'm buying pecans or I'm buying cashews, we pay more. We buy the best of the best. I buy the biggest I can find. I buy the lightest I can find. They're more expensive. Of course, we have to pass that along. And then two, our service. We're going to spend more time on the phone with you if you call. Mm-hmm. We're not going to try to run you off. You know, my first real job, I traded, was on a commercial trading desk essentially, and one of the main metrics they used was average call handle time. So, like, get off the phone, get on to the next one, burn. We don't compensate our customer service reps that way. We just, you know, we pay them a good rate, and they take care of the customer. If it takes 8 minutes instead of 4 minutes, that's fine. Now, if it's always 8 minutes, and maybe say, hey, you know, it's great to talk about your grandkids sometime, but maybe, you know, we gotta speed the call up a little bit. But, you know, that's one of the things we do is quality and service. And once either one of those goes down, we're in trouble. And so we do things like that. We have 3 people looking with their eye when we're picking pecans instead of 2 or 1 or none. You know, it's more expensive to do it that way, but we get a better product. And so that's kind of how we differentiate ourselves in a pretty crowded space.
Coming from the financial world, what would you say qualified Alex to come back here and do what you do?
You had pretty big shoes to fill from Harry and Jane.
Oh, yeah.
And I think a lot of people expected that. I mean, people don't realize how big Sunnyland is and how big of an operation it's become. But, yeah, curious to know from your perspective how you felt coming back and going, yeah, I can handle this job.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. So my dad, you know, runs the business. He's run the farm for 40-something years, which is a big business also. And I came back and, you know, started learning both of those. You know, it's really nice to have somebody who's been doing it that long, right? So I have kind of I'm not here. I haven't been here, so I don't know why we're doing things. So I can come in with a fresh eye, or I could back then. I kind of lost that now, 7 years in, you know. But always going back and saying, okay, you know, to Larry and being like, hey, is there a reason why we're doing something like this? If so, you know, okay. If not, then let's try something else. And, you know, having a good sounding board there. We had a lot of tenure, so a lot of people who'd been around a long time, and that's great from a a reliability standpoint. It's not great. You introduce a new idea and like heads explode. You know, they're like, "What? We've been doing this for 30 years this way." And so, but most people are really receptive to it once you kind of explain why. And so, what I've really found is like, hey, I think before it was kind of just like, we're going to do it this way and that's just how we're going to do it. Now we kind of say, okay, we're going to try it this way. It's going to be completely different, but here's why. And I think if you explain that, you know, people are more receptive. So I don't necessarily think I'm qualified to run a business even now. You know, we're kind of just winging it as we go along. We try a lot of things. We fail at I mean, I've got some big old albatrosses around my neck on things I've tried that have failed. So we're trying to, you know, limit those. If we can make the good decision 60% of the time, I think, then we'll be all right, you know. But if you don't try anything, I think, you know, nothing. You're never going to make really any kind of big gain. So, you know, I don't know. That's kind of a rambling answer that probably didn't answer what you're saying. It's kind of just I don't know. I like to try new things, and I'm not 100% sure I'm actually qualified to be doing it. But hey, who knows? We'll see.
Do you think that failure is a big part of having a successful business? A lot of people have different perspectives on failure, and I hear different things. But what's your thoughts on failure in business? I
mean, I do. I mean, if you look at like look at Google, I feel like they're shutting something down every year,
day.
Like Google Glass or Google the self-driving car or whatever. Yeah. But they're trying this stuff. I mean, granted, I guess if you have $1 trillion market cap because of your advertising business,
get away with it,
right? But you know, or like Elon Musk, he's shooting rockets off, buying Twitter. You know, who knows? That could be a disastrous decision, but you know, nobody's going to say he didn't give it a shot. You know, so I think failing is a good idea. We try to say fail forward. I'm sure somebody, I don't remember where I heard that. It's obviously not original to us, but yeah, fail it. At least you know what not to do. I mean, Edison did like 900 light bulbs or something before he got the right one. You know, I think that's part of it. You know. And
you're doing 9,000 fruitcakes.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, we're going to try 9,000 different flavors until we settle on that right one. So, but that is another thing. Like, it's like, yeah, we're expanding this kitchen. You know, part of it is once we're in this thing is like we're going to have a little test kitchen and try some stuff. Like one of our goals for our kitchen, people's like, all right, need 2 new products a month. Like, and if they're all disasters, that's fine. I mean, what are we out? Some R&D money. It's not that, but you find a good one, we can add to our product catalog, even if it's a temporary thing. You know, it just gives the consumer something new, a reason to hit their inbox again instead of saying, look, it's pecans again, buy them, you know, like let's say something new. So yeah, we're just kind of trying to figure that kind of stuff out. Yeah.
What is your biggest seller in the catalog?
So pecan, so our number one seller is a 3-pound home box of just raw mammoth pecan halves. So we have 2 kind of packagings. We've got the gifty packaging, the tins, the gift towers, the baskets, the boxes, all that. And then we have what we call home boxes, and that is like if you're buying it for yourself or whoever just wants the product, and it is product in a bag in a box. That's it. And you get the best bang for your buck. Yeah, and the 3-pound box of pecan halves is the number one seller. We're a pecan farm. We have our own shelling plant, so we control every single part of that process. Whereas, you know, the other stuff, we control it once we get it. And we've got great suppliers, but we control that. It's kind of what we're known for, and so that's still the big seller. Yeah.
But it really is a better quality. Like if you've ever had Sunnyland, I know you and I have, but I love getting y'all's products because you can, especially the chocolate stuff. I'm just a chocolate fiend.
Yeah.
How do you not zip around the office and like try everything every day? I mean, you weigh about $150 now.
Yeah. That's why he did the marathon.
That's right.
Knock off some of that
Are
chocolate
you ever
weight.
tempted to sit around and taste the pecan clusters?
I do like the clusters. I like the chocolate, and I do like the pralines, especially when they're making them and they're kind of they're setting because you don't like cool them. We just let them sit, and they set at room temperature for like 6 or 7 hours. And when you get them like 2 hours into that and they're still warm, that's just like, that's the best. And then the rum cake is also like that one I like a lot too. And that one, we love it. But I mean, if you eat that thing a lot, it'll kill you for sure. I guess
too much rum.
Yeah. Well, it's not the rum. It's a pound. It's basically a pound cake soaked in like a buttery pecan rum glaze. So it's it's not light, but it's good.
I've never heard better words. A buttery pecan rum glaze.
A friend of mine, I sent one, and he sent me a picture. He toasted it in his toaster oven, and had never tried that, and that is like
with more butter.
Game changer. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you get like a little crisp on it. I was like, oh my God, this is a game changer. I've never done this. So yeah, that one's good. The nuts, you know, I love cashews. I love pecans. I eat those. Those we can at least kind of spin as they're healthy if you don't eat, you know, half a pound a day, right?
Yeah.
But
What was the worst? What was the worst thing to come out of the test kitchen that didn't make the showroom floor?
oh, man, you know, I'm trying to think. It's usually not a taste issue. It's like how do we mass produce this thing?
Yeah.
We've gotten ourselves in trouble with that. You know, by the time it gets to the kitchen, we like the flavor. Somebody's brought it in. We've been like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. The worst thing that we've gotten ourselves into is we still sell this, and we've worked the kinks out now, but we did something called this product we have called a honey kist, and it's just a pecan, and it's gallberry honey, which is delicious, and we get it from a local guy in Omega, Georgia, Weeks Honey Farm, and sea salt. And we did like 3-pound batches, and we're like, oh, they're so good. And then we tried to start doing them at scale in like 2,000 or 3,000 pounds and these giant and then we dump them, and then it just turns into this like giant blob, and trying to like separate it. So in the first year we were like, oh, these things are so good, we're going to put them in all these different mixed like product tins we have. And so we would get behind there. We'd slow our production on the tins. So we just really got ourselves in a lot of trouble. So we've worked the kinks out. We're still not really efficient at them. We had to increase the price, take them out of basically they're standalone at this point, and go from there. But that's kind of the worst situation we've gotten ourselves in to this point. I'm sure there will be others.
Can I get my name on the list for the reject stuff? I mean, just to drop it off at my house, or I'll come up and pick it up. Okay.
Yeah. We can swing it by the office down here, so we can bring it over.
With this team as large as you have out there, I'm sure there's problems all the time. You know, equipment breaks, anything happens. How do you teach in your area as far as being in operations? How do you teach people to come to you with solutions first and problems after that? You know what I'm saying? So that they're not always coming to you.
Yeah. So we try to basically empower our people, you know, and like I said, that's kind of a different mindset than I think maybe, you know, people in our generation and younger are starting to have more of like a collaborative approach. Whereas, you know, for a long time in a lot of businesses, it's just been like the top down. Like, this is why, like, I mean, what, like Jack Welch at GE was like, this is it. Jack Welch said it doesn't matter. Drive that truck into the river, you know, whatever. You know? All right. So we're trying to say, look, I don't care if you really, you're not going to lose your job if you mess something up, like, you know, unless it becomes habitual, right? You know, but like if you have an idea, let's hear it, you know? And so we've gotten people comfortable with that. And so like the guy we brought in to manage our shelling plant, all of a sudden just started, he didn't even ask, he just started rerunning. We'd always take these, you know, nuts that got blown out in this one area, and they would just become wholesale. And all of a sudden we started noticing that our percentages were going up, and we were like, JT, how are you doing this? And essentially he had started taking those and just immediately funneling back into a color sorter, and then they wound up on our production area, and we, you know, made a couple % more, and that kind of stuff just kind of feeds itself. He said, that's a really good idea. I wish I had thought of that. You keep doing it, you know, keep doing things like that. And so I think our people are starting to say, hey, you know, if I've got an idea, I'll just do it. And, you know, if it's a disaster, we won't do it again. You know, a lot of them are more comfortable than others doing it, but we're trying to at least foster an environment where you say, hey, you know, just come up with an idea and let's see what happens. If it's a disaster, trust me, I try to make sure people know, like, here are the 17 times I've made horrible decisions and we're still here, right? You know,
so, made it.
You know, just don't do anything crazy and we'll be all right.
Today's show is brought to you in part by Concrete Enterprises. Visit the Concrete Enterprises family of businesses at cefamily.co. That's cefamily.co. Due process, standardize, onboard, and optimize. Click or call today to see how we can help take your business to the next level. DueProcessUSA.com.
I'm attorney Hugh Morris. The Department of Transportation reports that more than 36,000 people die each year in car crashes due to distracted drivers. Your life can change in an instant. Don't make the mistake of driving while distracted. If you have been hurt by a distracted driver or simply want more information on how together we can prevent distracted driving on our roads, visit HughMorrisLaw.com.
How many products are sold between October and December on average, like total? just volume of things. Do you know that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hundreds of thousands for sure. You know, I guess it depends on, are you talking about like SKUs?
Yeah, SKUs.
So like SKUs, we still have too many. We did a pretty decent cut about 4 years ago just to try to tighten up what we do. We had a lot of these things that we sold a little of, and we still have a couple of, and we're trying to constantly turn over. You know, you've got your basic 80-20 rule, or the 20% gives us, you know, 80% of our revenue. We're trying to find the next big one that comes in. You know, we probably got a couple hundred maybe, and a lot of them are just different weights of different products, right? So I mean, if it's like, you know, a rum cake, we've got a circular one in a gift tin. We've got an individual one you can buy. We've got 3 little loaves you can buy, right? But they're all different SKUs. So, you know, and then in terms of like how many boxes are going out the door, this time of year, it varies. It'll start really picking up. Next week, we're going to start shipping chocolate again because it's getting cooler. The week after, we'll start shipping raw pecans. And that's when we really start getting wide open, because that's kind of that's what we're known for. So we get harvest, then we'll come into, you know, the holidays, and then we'll get really cranking. So, you know, we'll get into we're shooting for 700,000-800,000. I don't know if we'll hit that this year. That'd be significantly more than last year.
Wow.
But yeah, you know, different shipments that go out via, you know, UPS or FedEx or the post office or whoever into people's doors. So
if you pull a product like off the line, do people call and get mad that you like pulled something they've been buying for 27 years?
Yes, they do. they get angry, and you try to justify and tell them, well, you know, you and like 9 other people in the country liked this. And
the only one,
right?
And sometimes we you know, like we've got an almond toffee that people love. It's a milk chocolate, and we sold the dark chocolate one for a long time, and people just didn't like that one for whatever reason. But we wound up with like 4 pallets of it left, so we'll still. You know, people will call in. We're like, okay, just FYI, this has been in our freezer. Now it's been frozen at 0 degrees for how long? And then finally we got rid of it. You know, but they were like, oh, just hold on to it for me. You know, like, okay.
You ought to do like
at some point that becomes kind of a liability for us. So we're
fire
not,
sale.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that. So
you ought to do like Chick-fil-A. So if you get rid of a product, you just like give everybody the recipe.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Like the carrot salad,
good.
which
Right.
nobody liked.
Nobody
There were
liked
7 people that liked the carrot salad, but they gave you the recipe. They're like, here it is if you want to make it yourself.
Now we know what not to make.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, that's not why I'm going to Chick-fil-A.
You mentioned
I'm going for
the
fried
spicy chicken.
Heck, yeah.
That's right.
You mentioned like 80-20 principle, which is an awesome book and an awesome concept. But are there any other books that come to mind when you think about business that have really stuck with you and things that you apply as principles to your leadership style?
Yeah, so one you recommended, I actually like. Traction is a good book. Another one that I go back to a lot is actually, it's called Let My People Go Surfing by the founder of Patagonia, Yvon Chouinard. And it's somebody recommended to me that like 5 years ago, and it's kind of, you know, he calls himself a reluctant businessman. This is before, you know, he just gave away his company a couple weeks ago. You know, and so it's you know, that guy's like, you know, my idol in terms of being the business guy, because he hates business, but he is like extremely successful, you know, which is very interesting. But you know, he just basically built this business, and then he lets his employees, you know, as long as they're doing their job, do whatever they want. And so it's like, hey, the surf's great today, go surf, and you know, when you come back, we'll knock out some carabiners or whatever they were making, and he built this like, you know, $50 billion company doing this. And so it's wild. So we're trying to make it, you know, our company, obviously we're never going to be Patagonia or something that awesome, but like some of the principles there at least can help smaller companies like us compete, especially in these type of times with, you know, your bigger companies. We can't offer the same kind of health. Like we have health insurance, but I've got 80 employees. I don't have 8,000 or 800,000 like P&G. So like we offer it, but it's not going to be like as good a health insurance. So we're thinking, okay, well, what can we maybe do that other companies won't do, or they're older, or there's 9 different bosses that have to approve something, right? And so we started a couple years ago knocking off 4 hours every Friday from like May to September. This year we just went to 4 10-hour days. You know, we worked Monday through Thursday. Every single person had a 3-day weekend for 4 months, and the people love that. You know, next year we told them, hey, I will pay you for 36. I'll pay you for 40 hours. You can get the job done in 36. Nobody's taken me up on that yet, which is very surprising. But you know, I know there's efficiency. And the thing is we're winning as a company there too, because, on a 10-hour day, there's less, coming in for 30 minutes, get everything set up, spend 30 minutes cleaning. You gain like an hour and a half of production time too. So our numbers look better coming into our busy time. Everybody's refreshed because they've had 3-day weekends for 4.5 months. And so it's win-win. So, we're just trying to think of things like that to give people a little more free time. That seems to become much more of a thing that employees want now, right? Is work-life balance. And so we're trying to think of how we can do that. And also, as a manufacturing company, it's not really easy. If you need 10 people to run a line, you need 10 people to run a line. You can't really do that from home. So how can we try to make that something that our employees can enjoy also?
Tracy had a good question. We were talking about this earlier, but will you ever, the little pecan pies you see at the 7-Eleven?
Yeah.
Will y'all ever do?
I love those things, man. You used to get them at the vending machine.
Yeah, Little Debbie.
Yeah.
Will y'all ever do a mass product like that, you think?
I possibly. I think once we get, so our kind of differentiator that we've had, or something that has been why we can really maintain our quality, is we've done everything by hand, for 75 years next year. And we still will do everything by hand, but trying to figure out like how to package these things quicker and get them out the door. I think with our new kitchen, we'll be able to at least put in a couple extra mixers, a couple extra, ovens if needed, to help us really boost capacity. Right now, we're building out this kitchen because we had some growth, which was great, but then all of a sudden we had problems getting out our product to our own customers. So like in 2020, we had to shut down our website on December 17th because we were so in the weeds. We had something like 28,000 pralines that we had to get out the door by like December 21st, and we didn't have them. And so we had to shut it down. We're thinking, okay, we got to get more efficient at doing this. And so how can we do that? So I think we'll be able to do something like that. I do love those little mini pecan pies, or like the pralines or something. And we've had corporate customers ask us for that.
Yeah.
And we've just said that's not something we do at this point. But we have a small wholesale market for pecans and for other things that we do B2B. We don't do a ton of that, but that is something we're looking at as we build out our kitchen, because we'll have increased capacity at that point.
Awesome. What's your biggest fear in business? Like, if I put myself in your shoes, I'm thinking I'd have nightmares about like nuts not growing on the trees this year for some reason.
Weather knocking all the nuts off the trees.
Yeah.
Happens,
We've had
right?
some of that. What are some of your biggest fears in business?
Yeah. So, so on the farming aspect, I've had to get used to, like 2018, you could do do everything right. You can have a monster crop and then Michael comes through and you don't get to harvest any of it. And that's, I guess that's why you have insurance. I guess the thing that keeps me up at night maybe is, if you make enough bad decisions, I don't care. I'll figure out how to, I'll go scrap and figure out a way to make a living. But like, there are a lot of people whose livelihoods depend on like decisions that we make as a management team. And so like, you screw that up enough times, like, all right, now I'm not just like, putting myself out of work and putting like 80 people out of work and their kids and things like that. So that kind of weighs on you heavily
Heavenly mix.
Yeah, exactly. When you
only at Sunnyland.
That's right. It's a little subtle product placement there, as you as we're making decisions. So that one is always kind of in the back of my mind. Like, okay, am I going to bankrupt the company with this decision? Probably not. So okay, well, we'll give it a flyer. So that one, yeah.
Yeah, you're pretty humble too, and I think that's why you have had a lot of people stay with the company. Your whole family has been pretty good to their employees for a long, long time. And I think that's a big deal. And I think that's where people sleep on Alex. It's always the third generation that really freaks it up.
That's right. That's right.
And I think you're going to continue to have success because you are extremely smart, but you continue to be humble with your employees and treat them properly. And I think they see that and they get that feedback.
Yeah, that's the goal. We want to create an environment people want to come to every day. I think it's good, like if you have a family business, and I've told My dad and my wife Stacy this. I'm like, if any of our kids ever want to, well, one, if we don't run it into the ground in the next 15 years, right? So if any of our kids ever want to come back, like they need to go out and be the low man on the totem pole, right? For at least 5 years. I think that was good. 10, you learn a lot too working at bigger companies. You go out, you be the guy that has to work the day after Thanksgiving and the day after Christmas and all that. I think that's good. And you learn. There are a lot of good things that big companies do. Like they do these things for a reason. They're successful. And you can bring those back and, not the meetings to have meetings, but, certain things. Like we were having no meetings when I first came back. Like during the height of the season, no managers would ever we would never take 30 minutes and all get on the same page and be like, okay, here's what we need to do. Right. It'd just be like people running into one person's office and be like, I'm out of this. I'm like, what the hell are we doing, man? Why don't we all just take 20 minutes and sit here and be like, okay, let's come up with a plan. Now let's go do it.
Let's huddle up.
So some things I think are positive. So
that's interesting.
So, yeah.
When you were a kid, did you touch the business at all growing up?
When I was a kid, I worked on the farm.
Okay.
So yeah, I in the summers I dug irrigation ditches. I fertilized trees. Occasionally drove a lawnmower, tractor. So I got a good experience of hey, here's, my dad paid me. He was like, you're going to make minimum wage and you're going to go out there and you're going to dig irrigation. It was 100 degrees, gnats and I was like, okay, don't want to do that. That's, right. Back-breaking labor. So I did that for 4 summers. And yeah, make all my kids do that too. So,
learned a lot there.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you the type of guy that shuts down at 6 p.m., 7 p.m. every night, or are you just all the time thinking about business, or how do you?
I try to shut it down, but you start thinking. I read a lot on my phone at night. Once I put the kids to bed, I'll read the Wall Street Journal or whatever, and be like, oh, that applies, and I'll email it myself. I don't want to sit there and read, but. I try to shut it down. A lot of times when I shut it down, then I'll come up with ideas. I usually will try to go on a bike ride or a run or something during lunch and just completely shut it off. Shut it off for an hour. And then half the time I'll be in there just completely clear in my head and something will just pop in. I'm like, I need to try that. And I think I don't know, that seems to be pretty common. You just kind of walk away from something. So I try to shut it down, but then things pop in and it's wind up working. So.
That's true innovation, though,
right?
Man.
Exactly.
You're at most relaxed, and then something comes.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's awesome.
Do you get stressed out over business stuff? I mean, I know certain things happen that are more stressful, but do you personally get stressed out or?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, December, I'll get stressed out. It's when there's a lot of things going on, and when things are kind of going sideways, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's. If our shelling plant's down and it's not going to be up for 4 days, okay, that's our main bread and butter during the holidays. How are we going to get this up? How are we going to catch up? How are we going to get the box out the door? All of a sudden we can't find the people. So yeah, occasionally I'll get a little eye twitch, and then you got to try to be all right, whoa, let's go take 10. So we've got our plants right in the middle of a pecan orchard, and we've got a water pump station about half a mile into our grove. And so occasionally when it's just I'm I gotta get away for 10 or 20 minutes, I'll walk out to the pump station and back and just kind of be all right, and I've told other people, I'm like, look, it's straight out there. Yeah, you go out there too if you need to. And we've got all these old trucks and stuff that are kind of, it's
cool.
We
the boneyard.
Yeah, exactly. A boneyard. And I, got a big stick. I'm like, you guys ever, I tell my managers, I'm like, if you ever really need to let some steam, I'll just go beat one of those things that, go bash it with this stick.
Beat a truck to death.
Let's try not to yell at each other. Just go, beat the hell out of that truck and then come back in the gate and we'll be cool. And
that was the new track.
That's right. That's right.
No, not that one.
Yeah. Hit the one outside the fence.
The Wilson family actually invented the touch a truck thing that they're doing with the shovel.
Just
beat the
truck.
Truck.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah, that's not company sponsored. We'll throw that in there for our attorneys.
Yes, that's right. What is the future of Sunnyland? Next 5 years?
Oh, man. It's a good question, man. I mean, we're
trying robots.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, I think we're trying to. We've always got different ideas. We're trying to, of course, grow our traditional business. We've looked at international shipping. All right. I mean, so we do some of that, but not a lot of it in volume. So where do we really want to start trying to ship internationally? There's different programs through both UPS and FedEx that have made it a lot more affordable now. So for the consumer. And people are used to, if they order something from the U.S. and it's going to London, it taking 7 days. Like that's not the speed of delivery on those kind of packages isn't as urgent. So that, we've talked about physical locations a couple of times. That's really something I want to explore. And it's not even more as like making money off the physical location, but more as like a driver to the business, to the website, to the e-commerce site. We've looked at a couple different areas, like in Atlanta and some different affluent areas in like Charleston and like the North Carolina area. And so maybe one of those just to see what happens. And if it goes well, maybe look at another couple. I've got some numbers on that, but I don't know. I think trying to find one or two more key people that can help execute on some of those things would be ideal. We've got a pretty small team right now in our office. We probably need to add one or two more, I think, to really start doing some of this stuff. And then, we're trying to just do things that we think would be beneficial to not only, our sales, but, our company, our employees. We're trying to power our entire plant based on solar. So when we build this new kitchen, we've got solar built into the top that should, according to our contractors, power the entire plant. I would love to see us get a B Corp. That's going to be tough. But a B Corp certification is a cool thing that we could tout. And so we're starting to look into that. So just a bunch of different things. We'll focus on our core sales as well.
What's obviously. A B Corp?
Yeah, explain B Corp.
So B Corp is kind of like it's a certification you get for trying to do sustainable practices, treating your employees correctly, having like fair trade supply chains and things like that. It's going to be tough because certain things that we buy are get into some really kind of gray supply chains, not because they are they want to, but like chocolate. If you think about chocolate, it is like really hard to track back to where it actually comes from. Same with certain cashews. Like all the cashew packers are not all, but most of them are in like India and Vietnam. But realistically, most cashews are grown in like Africa, and so they go there and so things like that. But a lot of it is just like, are you treating your employees fairly, right? So we want to make sure they get a living wage. We want to make sure nobody's like feeling like they have to work a second job while they're a full-time employee, like that's on our payroll, right? I mean, that's the main thing. And I think we're there, but we're always trying to keep increasing, as we increase efficiency, we want to make sure we're passing a lot of those dollar costs back onto our employees, right? Yeah. So we're trying to raise them up with CPI or more, plus give them a bonus, plus make sure we're paying 80% of their health insurance and doing those types of things as well. Like I said, we can't compete with P&G or Miller or those types of places, but we can try to supplement in certain ways. And so we're trying to do that. So, yeah.
Awesome.
That's innovative, man. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Is there any room in your life for streaming stuff? Or are you watching, trying to, personal growth or even entertainment? Like, what are you watching on Netflix?
You get a little Dahmer in there, man?
Yeah. I haven't seen that. That's on the to-do. I've been watching that new what is it called? It's like Beyond the Edge with Jimmy Chin on this. I think it's on Disney, actually, Disney Plus.
That guy's insane.
He's crazy, and of course they're like the first one's on Alex Willson, the free solo guy, and it's all these crazy guys that do like the last one I watched with the guys were doing big river waterfall kayaking, and they like break their nose. They're crazy. So I've been watching that lately. Haven't gotten into a series lately. We got any recommendations? I do want to watch the Dahmer thing. We watch a lot of documentaries. We love the one we just watched. We just watched the one on Woodstock '99, which good Lord,
that was crazy.
Yeah, and you're like, well, you invite all the people that follow like Limp Bizkit and Korn and Rage Against the Machine,
put them in
festival,
one field.
And you think like it's not going to go crazy. Right. Like it's like sitting like Hendrix and the Doors, man. Like this is a different vibe.
There were no bidets in those porta potties.
There were no bidets in those porta potties. That's right. Exactly.
That's funny. Have you seen the John McAfee documentary?
Yes, that is actually amazing.
Running with the devil.
Yeah, he is very paranoid. He's got like the blonde wig. But he's super paranoid, but he introduces himself to everyone.
He loves it.
Yeah, he's like, they're out to get me. I'm John McAfee. How are you? You're like, hey, man, if you're that paranoid, stop telling everybody who you are.
He was a fugitive. He ran. He supposedly murdered somebody. I think he did murder somebody. Runs off to Belize, but in between this, he runs. Look this up. He runs for president. He's sitting there in the primary, and the guy's asking him, hey, aren't you a fugitive right now? And he just laughs it off. Yeah, and just zipping around on his yacht. He couldn't find how to get away from the police, so he's like, "Oh yeah, I bought a yacht from the Wolf of Wall Street, so I'm gonna head out to international waters."
And now they can't get me out here.
You got to check it out. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
He's crazy. He's got a lot of guns, and he's very, very, very paranoid. Yeah, and didn't he like kill his when he was in Belize? Like somebody said his dog was barking or too loud, and then he wound up killing the guy.
He killed the guy.
Yeah, he killed the guy.
Alex, do you feel like this is the way Blake is going to wind up? I feel like that. I have that.
Yeah, he likes this. He said he's watched this and Dahmer.
That's all I watch over and over again.
I'm over there eating those heavenly clusters like Jeffrey Dahmer on Christmas, man.
You throw in one more David Koresh, and I'm done.
That's right. Oh man.
Yeah, that's not the future of Sunnyland Farms, by the way.
No, hopefully not. I don't know. We'll see.
I am excited about you being here. You have been here for a long time. It's good to have you here in our community. I feel like,
thanks, man.
You know, your dad and your mom, your grandparents really gave back a lot to the community. You've done so much already for our community. What were some of you've served on several boards, but what were some of the best things that you felt like you've been able to give back since you've been back?
Oh man, yeah. I served on I've done a few. I've done Lake Park. I was the PTO president for a while during COVID, which was interesting.
That's important.
I didn't have a very traditional, I guess, presidency. I didn't have to do like the fall festival and all that. When I came in, I was like, and I told the outgoing, I was like, if you can't find anybody else, like I am probably not qualified to do this, but I think, of course, as soon as you tell somebody that, like, perfect. You're
the one. You're the one.
You are it. I'm done looking.
We're going to have a Zoom fall festival this year.
Right. That's what, yeah. So, but there was none of that because it was COVID. So it was mainly just like me listening on school board calls and like being like, when are we going back to class? And trying to just like advocate for that. So that one was good. I did Boys and Girls Club for a while. Also the Chamber.
Good people.
All of these are great. And then, finally it just became, I need to work, and my kids got older and they started doing extracurriculars and I wasn't able to like do those well. And I do a couple industry ones too. So I'm on the exec committee of the National Pecan Sheller Association. I'm about to be on the American Pecan Council. And so those two are a little more time intensive. And so I've started doing those until I roll off those and then we'll get back into some more of the community things. But we're always looking if people, to ways to give back both as a company and as individuals. We try to give our time and our resources where we can. I think it's just part of it, so I guess.
What would you tell 27-year-old Alex if you could go back?
I mean, so 27, I was doing some crazy stuff at 27. I mean, no commitments at that point. So, maybe focus a little harder. Could probably have done some bigger things in the 20s if I'd been a little more focused. I was mainly just kind of screwing around trying to, figure out what the weekend plans were, which is not a bad thing. I do that half the time now, but that's a little more for sanity. So back then that was just like the way of life. So, I'd say, maybe try to pick up on a passion, like a secondary like a non-work passion that you like. I kind of gotten into this like cycling deal and it's pretty cool. I enjoy that. And so it's kind of an outlet. I don't know. What do people say to that? That's a great question. I don't know. I don't know what I'd say.
I've never asked that question before.
I feel like, I feel like you kind of evolve as a person. And so 27, I think doing some of the dumb stuff I did at 27 has probably made me do different things as I got older. And, maybe that was part of it, I guess. I don't know.
It's all part of the plan.
No regrets.
The master. That's right. # no regrets with an A.
No regrets.
That's right. Exactly.
We appreciate your time.
Okay.
We do appreciate it.
No,
Before we let you go,
having me.
we want to play a game. It's called First Class or Bus Pass.
Okay.
Now, if you love it, it's first class. Okay. Right? And you get it. If it's bus pass, it's not my thing. So Blake's got a list of questions. They may or may not be a little tailored toward you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Blake.
You take it. I don't have my list.
Well,
I'm sorry. I didn't do my homework.
I'm just not prepared. Okay, here we go. Peanuts.
Bus pass.
I agree.
It's going to get me in trouble in Albany, Georgia.
No, I like them,
That's
but
right.
I'm just making
I'm a pecan guy. Come on.
Vegans in general.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in between. I'm bus pass. I'm not a vegan. I don't really.
You got a plant-based business,
That's right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's
Man
true.
cannot live on pecans alone.
That's right. That's true.
Is it pecans or pecans?
I'm kidding. I say pecans. Yeah.
Pecan, yeah.
That's right.
Mile 143.
Oh, that is for sure first class. That's very first class.
That's almost the end.
That's there, baby.
Bourbon.
First class.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
You know, not really.
Could you pass a taste test?
No, not at all.
Me neither.
It's one of these things like I know really bad bourbon and I know really good bourbon, but like if you lined up like Pappy and like a single barrel, 4 Roses and some Basil Hayden and something else and told me which one's that, I don't know. Like, it's probably like fine wine. I know like a good one and I know a really bad one, but like the exponential returns don't match the exponential price cost to me.
Yeah.
Like I'm not, my palate is unrefined. Let's say that.
Me and Alex will drink bourbon every once in a while, but it's usually like after 4 or 5 Coors Lights, right? So it doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
anymore.
right, exactly. Yeah, it's like out of a plastic jug.
Speaking of plastic jugs, gas station sushi.
Is that a thing?
I'd
try it. I
mean,
eat gas station food all the time, so I'll first class that. Yeah, I mean, I'll try it. I'm like a goat. I'll eat whatever.
And then last one, karaoke.
Oh, first class for sure.
Oh, man, I would love to see you doing karaoke.
Tell them your go-to, man. You got a really good go-to karaoke.
So I do I do gin and juice frequently.
No kidding.
Yeah, I do that
Man,
one. That is
laid
the go-to.
back.
Laid back. There are a few videos from my 27-year-old days of me and like seersucker doing that at a sports bar in Nashville.
Nice.
We'll pull that up when
I was
you
gonna say,
run
that'll
for
be the-
mayor.
That's right. That's that. Exactly. Yeah.
We'll run the credits to him doing
right.
that.
Yeah, for sure. So
Well, we appreciate your time, man. Come again anytime.
Awesome,
we
Alex.
appreciate you.
Yeah, enjoyed it. Thank you, guys.
To find out more about Alex Willson and what he's got going over there with the great people at Sunnyland Farms, visit their website at sunnylandfarms.com. Also follow them on their social media, Facebook, Twitter, and now TikTok. Today's show is brought to you in part by Concrete Enterprises. Visit the Concrete Enterprises family of businesses at cefamily.co. That's cefamily.co. Due Process. Standardize, onboard, and optimize. Click or call today to see how we can help take your business to the next level. DueProcessUSA.com. Process is Everything is a production of the LEVEE Studios. It's the right thing to do. Visit theleveestudios.com for more information. Subscribe to Process is Everything wherever you find your favorite podcast.
Process is everything.